Okay, loves. This episode you are going to adore. As I talk to my friend Juany Santos, I met Juany back pre-pandemic days, back when I was like doing events on the regular. I was on a panel. He was in the audience. It was about Instagram. Everyone was sharing handles. Started following him, and I was like, oh, this isn't just like some dude trying to like do an influencer thing on Instagram. This is someone having a movement. Having a movement. And the more I followed him, the more I witnessed his evolution, his journey with life, his connection to source, all infused into the music and the way that he produces and the way that he shows up in the world. And then he weaves that into his community, Sky Society, which is a collective of individuals coming together as one to connect and create art, music, and humanity. And Juany truly does that. I really encourage you to follow him on Instagram and watch his stories and see how he makes you feel like everything's okay, like it's all good. You feel understood, you feel heard, you feel like he has a presence right next to you just through a story. It's really amazing to witness. And so, of course, I have been wanting to chat for a while. Like, I feel like we both have this like synergy, this like very soul brother sisterhood. And so what better way to do that than with all of you on this podcast? So enjoy the episode with my dear friend, soul brother, Juany Santos.
Danielle Mercury. It's time for the show. Danielle, welcome to the show. Danielle Mercury. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
You've been
Yeah.
traveling since September. I'm like, let's just get this rolling. Okay.
Yeah. No, I've been traveling since September. I had this it's like, so I feel like it was so many breakthroughs at once, but the biggest breakthrough for me was like spirit communicating me and basically saying like, look, like, I've realized that like I kind of like placed all these like false security and safety blankets on things of like the 3D world for me specifically, like
Sure.
having a really nice apartment, having like a cush salary job alongside of me, playing shows and doing what I was doing, having other multiple streams of income and different things like that, right? Like
Right.
securities that I think society tells you like, oh, look, like this is how you measure your success. Like you're successful if
Exactly.
you have these things.
You're safe, you're taken care of. Like
Yes.
there's all these factors that are like presented to you.
Yes, 100%. And I like had to be real with myself. And I was like, you know what? Like that is not necessarily true. That's like very much so man-made and 3D. And like, of course we have to operate in the 3D realm, but it's so multidimensional for all of us. So I like broke it down and got really honest with myself, and all these things were happening in my life that was leading to this decision. But I basically said like, hey, I'm putting all my artwork, all my furniture, my apartment, all my records, everything into storage, and I'm just going to travel. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been since September till now, I've been from here to California 7 times, like driving.
Oh my gosh, stop it. You're a beast.
Yeah, no, I've been crushing it and like staying at Airbnb, staying with friends, producing this new vlog series. I know you've probably seen it.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm like just so happy and feeling very seen and supported. And it's not like I wasn't happy before. It's just, I think the biggest thing for me is like feeling true liberation. And really what like comes into my head every day is like, another mantra is like faith over fear. And I had to create a space for myself where I really feel like I am walking in faith every day.
Absolutely. And I love like how you're saying this too with the comparison of being on the road, because it's like, okay, yes, you can have the cushy job and you can have, the security coming in. You can say, look, I have faith in my life. Look, everything's working out. I'm taken care of. But it's like until you actually leave that, which is
Yeah.
ultimately your comfort zone, that's when you witness faith. That's when
Yeah.
you uncover it. And it's not to say that everyone has to like leave their job or leave their home and go on the road per se, but I will agree with you that every time that I've done something like that, every time I've been on the road, I have been more taken care of than the ways that I thought I needed to be taken care of.
Mm.
More things come together, more beautiful surprises. I've never been, abandoned or, not had a place to stay, or like it's just really cool how when you're taking care of the universe being versus being taken care of the 3D, what can
Yeah.
happen?
Dude, yeah. Like, that's literally what it was. And for
Mm-hmm.
me personally, the voice just kept getting louder and the signs just kept getting, it was just so much clarity. And yeah, I'm really happy with the decision, and it's led to just phenomenal things all around. So that's like what I've been, I guess, doing since
Sure.
September.
Uh-huh.
Um, and actually, I'm back in Lancaster right now,
Oh, you
house sitting.
are? Okay.
Yeah, I've been back for 2 weeks now. I'm house sitting for a friend of mine who's in actually Peru right now. So
It's very cool. I love that you're holding space in their home while they're there.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's like it's so cush, and they're such a good
Mhm,
friend of mine, and so
mhm.
inviting, and like I'm taking care of their plants, and
I was just gonna ask, is this the house with the plants? I saw the video.
yeah,
The
yeah.
plants look awesome. I was like, oh.
And that was like one of the things too. Like when I was moving out of my apartment, I like had a bunch
Mhm,
of plants, and I was like, all right, like this is probably the hardest part. Is like,
mhm. Same. Oh my gosh. That was my hardest issue. I gave so many to my friends and then I
yeah,
did have my parents keep some
yeah,
for me.
same, same.
It was the hardest to let go of that. And isn't that crazy? But it's like, it's an extension of you. And like some people are like, you could probably travel with them. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
the one that travels with her plants. As much as that sounds good in theory, it's not. Sometimes you just have to do what's best for them.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. But
Hmm.
oh yeah, thanks for
That's
having
so
me.
cool.
I'm
Oh my
stoked
gosh,
that
of
we get
course.
to catch up and connect.
Yeah, like saying before we started, like I just had been wanting to talk to you for a while, and I was like, well, let's do it here.
Yeah.
Let's jam. Let's chat. So that being said, okay, so for people that like don't know you or they're like, okay, who's this being that's on the road that's talking about shows that left their job, all the things. Are you still working that job or are you like you completely
No,
leave it?
so
Okay,
no, I'm like fully. I mean, I've always been full time music,
sure.
but at least for the last like decade. But now it's really like I'm just trying to hit home runs with what I'm
Hmm.
doing,
Yeah.
and any other forms of income that are outside of music or in a way so connected to music. Or
Hmm.
I also do like brand consulting and work with I have a media marketing agency, so like I've really been honing in that. It really is like the whole part of Sky Society. Like
Hmm.
Sky Society is the intention that was set when I guess to say created it, but really I feel like just the vessel for it, right? Like I
Hmm.
channeled this thing that was coming in, and it was a community of individuals united as one, creating higher ways of thinking, living, and connecting via music, arts, and culture. That had came from like just being involved in community and playing music and really being having awareness of like what the feeling was of what was happening, doing what I love doing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then that's translated into now like the online space, and the with COVID happening and all that stuff, like really allowed me time to help others. Really,
Hmm.
that's what it is, like
Yeah.
really continue holding space for that vessel and aligning with the right people. And it's fun for me because I create relationships with other artists, entrepreneurs, and get to like kind of assess their business and look at it from the outside, give them
Hmm.
pointers and tips, and also be on the inside, really wanting them to succeed, and
Yeah.
helping them, guiding them in the right direction, via
Yeah.
my network. So
Hmm.
it's fun. It's yeah, that's kind of, I think I explained that. That was like the
Yeah,
question,
I
right?
think you did a very good job. Yeah, yeah. Didn't
Thanks.
sound like an elevator pitch. One of the things I've been thinking about too with like entrepreneurship and like marketing and all these things. Like, I feel like I've been doing this full time for 7 years now, but I've been in it for
Yeah.
like over a decade, right? And it's so interesting. Like, when you first start out, you're given kind of like this template of like, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to communicate. And what I've been finding, especially, I don't know if it's because we're just ascending into new frequencies or just
Mm,
the online platforms are changing, but it
mm,
feels so much looser now. It feels
yeah.
like, the best thing that you can do is just like show up and express. And I think it's always technically been that way, but it does feel like we're loosening some of the control a bit, if that
Yeah.
resonates.
No, that definitely resonates. Yeah, it's whew. And
Mm-hmm.
like these things, like I forget what someone said. I forget what word they used. Oh, I think it was Sadhguru. I was listening
Mm-hmm.
to one of his posts or something, and he's like, "That's not a cell phone in your hand. It's like a sorcerer's stone, or like
Mm.
it was like a." And I was like, "That's really true. It's like it's so
Yes.
powerful. Like these are so powerful. It's really how you choose to use it."
Mm-hmm.
And I think for people who resonate with what we're saying and are on that wavelength, that frequency, it's really about being our most authentic self, and that translates through, like that energy hits them through the phone
Mm-hmm.
and encourages them to do the same. And I think that's just really important in a space that is heavily influenced by products being sold to you and
Mm-hmm.
algorithms and all that stuff. Like,
Right.
we have the power. We create
Yes.
the algorithms. They study all that information and they just sell it back to you in the forms of ads. So
Right.
um, I think that's another thing why I personally have a lot of fun on social media and have a good balance of it, because the intention behind what I'm using it is very clear. And
Mm-hmm.
that's part of like what I help other clients of mine with, and people that I'm working with, is
Hmm.
sharing
I
that
think,
like
yeah, I
perspective.
think that's what it comes down to, really. It's like, again, you can study all the algorithms, you can study all the marketing, you can do all the quote unquote right things, you can have the
Mm,
pretty, fabricated profile if you want. But at the end of the day, if you're not allowing yourself to be a vessel, if you're not
mm,
allowing your true authenticity, your true gifts to come through and let them be like utilized and showcased on this space, then it's almost like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, like you might as well just, I don't know. I just feel like that's where the biggest block comes sometimes. Like, I think people are at war sometimes between like, I want to show up and be a full expression of who I am. I want to, showcase the things that I feel deep down are meant to be, showcased in this world. And yet there's a part of me that fears it. So I want to default to making sure that I'm quote unquote doing the right thing.
wow, that's real.
I feel like
Yeah,
that
but
happens all the time. I mean, I'm even guilty
no,
of it, right? Like, I've had
mm,
moments where I'm like, "Oh, wait, like, aren't I supposed to do it this way?" Or like, "Shouldn't I be
yeah,
doing it like that now?" And it's like, I don't know. Should I? Shouldn't I?
no, that's real. But I also realized too, like just from being in this space and helping other people with their brands for the past like almost 5 years, I think most people who are in that I guess it's media and
Mhm.
marketing, entrepreneurship, business, like there's so many phonies and fugazis out here who
Mhm.
are basically selling you the old template, and people just get tricked by it. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, no, everyone does it this way." So like that means like it's supposed to. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, fam. Like it's really not what it is.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and it's not always sustainable. I love that you used the word "fugazis." It's, like, freaking
Yeah,
amazing. Love that. It's like, feels like my, like, Italian grandfather coming through, like,
yeah,
describing what's going on in the world now. I'm here for it. Like, hey, 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 pops. So I love that. And it's like, to your point, like, it's not sustainable. And like even me, I was thinking about this last night. Like, I haven't like outwardly fully shared some of the shifts that I'm making in my business in the ways that I'm showing up and some of the things that I'm clearing out. And I definitely was feeling last night like I have a couple courses that are on my site, they're evergreen, that are like quote unquote business courses, right? Like, here's how to do X, Y, and Z. Here's how you can set up this and that. And like I heard Spirit say very clear, like, take them all down. It was literally like Spirit was like, we want you to like clear the motherboard. Like, do like, and if you don't, like, guess what? When Mercury retrograde comes up, we'll just clear it for you. But like,
yeah,
wipe all that clean, because it's not that it's not good content. It's not that it's not usable, but it's not who you are and it's not where the world is going. So like, don't be afraid to like clear all that out, even if it was successful at one point, or it brought you money, or it brought other people, success, which was the intent. Are you willing to like clear out all this old information to really make space for the new?
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, and
That's real.
I was like, really? I was like, but it's just up there as evergreen. It's not a big deal. And it's like, literally, I heard like clear the motherboard, so the divine motherboard can come through. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you
Good
know,
for you. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing that.
of course. But it's
Yeah, I love just your approach to everything. I think it was the Lionsgate portal that I got to
mm,
attend. Um,
hmm
and then just, obviously I've been following you for a while and we've been connected, but
yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's wholesome, it's very intentional and consistent and just comes from like a good place.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's, why I value you as well, because I feel like every time when you pop up in my stories or whatever it may be, it always feels like it's coming from a genuine place. And it does always feel just like you were sharing before, like it's derived for the community. Everything you show up and share, it's not like, look at me. It's like, look at us. And I
Yeah.
can feel that
Thank you
in the
so much.
way. Hmm
That's literally what it's the intention and it's a daily practice of
hmm
honoring that.
hmm
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what do you do when you have trouble honoring that, or you have a day where you're like, oh, like I'm not getting there?
I take a step back to make
Hmm
sure that I'm not projecting any of it,
hmm
which is like the big thing,
Yeah.
like I don't need to bring that into that space.
hmm
And I go heavy on the mantras.
hmm
Like I have certain things like these, I call them like little breakthrough moments where I have these sayings that come through and, I have a little journal. And I just like repeat them to myself. And the biggest one, really, I was talking to a friend right before I got on this call. The biggest one that has really been coming to me and like giving me a lot of solitude and just grace is like this path that I'm on, that you're on, like each person is on, and especially it's been coming through very strong for me is like I've been given this task and this path to follow through, and it doesn't look like anyone else's.
Yeah.
So when I'm experiencing certain things and I feel like maybe people might not understand or this or that, like that's just how it's supposed to be.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Uh huh. Uh
and
huh.
it's like, hey, like that's like this is what's given to you. Like you just
Yes.
have to trust me and you have to have faith that like 25 years from now you'll be able to write the blueprint
Uh
to
huh.
help other people and
Yeah.
you can keep on sharing these pieces along your journey. But right now, this is very specific for you and what I'm giving you.
hmm
Um, and part of like, your path and your journey for having faith, like what I was saying before.
Yeah.
That's my biggest one. That's
Uh
like the
huh.
one where like I go right to that. Anytime I'm
Yes.
feeling outside of that, and
hmm
like that is just the most potent one.
Yeah, it's definitely a theme. I was talking to someone about it last week, actually, a friend of mine, and we were talking about that loneliness. And it's a loneliness that,
Wow.
it's like we can, and I think this is the important piece where there does need to be community around it. There's a loneliness in the uniqueness of what you're doing. No one can understand. It's you and God. You are the prophet for whatever it is that you're allowing to unfold and whatever it is that you're doing on behalf of the divine in these times. That being said, I think many of us are doing it in our own ways, and that loneliness around it, I do think, is part of it, but it is important for us to share, to remember like we're not alone. And even though maybe we can't quite resonate per se, I want you to say, like, I see you and what you're going through because I'm going through it too, even though it's not the same.
Wow. That's deep.
hmm There's something going on. Like there's definitely something going on where I think many of us are getting these like very unique, singular tasks. And at the same time, like I don't think it's meant to isolate us. So I think it's important to
No,
talk about it.
that's huge. I mean, it's such divine timing with that because like
hmm
I was headed to Philly yesterday. I was going to tour this venue that I'm going to be playing at, and did like 5 interviews for this series. And like on the way up, I called my cousin. My cousin is like one of my like my roots, right?
Yes.
For the foundation, and I called and I'm like, cuz like, dude, I'm just like feeling like it's lonely at the top today.
Yeah.
And like like
hmm
there's very few people I
hmm
can call, like to share that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's wild you say that. I'm reading this book called The Outliers, and it's a book that like has done data research and taken pages from journals from some of the most successful people in different parts of their industries, whether it's from people in the tech industry or like Canadian hockey players or like all these different facets of day-to-day life. And basically like they're doing all this data and this research and coming up with I guess like formulas or just
Mm-hmm.
information about like what is in certain people's DNAs that makes them like have that drive and that passion
Mm-hmm.
to continue to strive. So that's how my day started yesterday. And
Yeah.
then by the end of it, like I was having so many good conversations doing these interviews, and this gentleman that I met yesterday, his name's Zeke. He asked me, he was like, "Man, I just like have to ask you, like, really, how do you do it? Like, how do
Mm.
you perform at a high rate? How do you continue to evolve and grow and elevate and be successful, and at the same time manage relationships?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "Bro, are you ready?" I was
You asked, so here we
like,
go.
I was like, "Are you ready for this?" I was like, honestly, like I had to strip everything away from my life, and I had to hone in on the one relationship that is the most important, and that is my connection to source
Mm-hmm.
and to the life force,
Mm-hmm.
and what allows me personally, for me, I feel like to continue with passion and guidance and all of those things, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, once I continue, you know, and it's a daily practice, but I
You
was
say,
like, once I really
mhm.
stripped everything away and honored that that relationship is what allows you to keep going, the other relationships that are in your life and in alignment, they understand and prioritize them for themselves too.
Yes. Yes. And it kind of has to be that way when you get to that point. Like I know there was a period in my life where I was trying to maintain old relationships while in this deeper relationship with myself and the divine. And like it creates such contrast, and it also creates a lot of confusion and discomfort to try to maintain those two dynamics. Oof.
Big time.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, it literally is like no love lost. That's the
Oh,
biggest
nothing.
thing too.
Exactly.
No
Exactly.
love lost. Like
Mhm.
I still pray for these people. Like I literally like
100%.
I go through my Instagram stories and I see people who are like watching it, and I literally would say I say prayers for
Yes.
everyone. Like at the end
Yes.
of the day, you
It's
know, like
totally,
it's like
totally.
that's what it's on, you know, and like
Yeah.
I know some people are on there like probably spying on my Instagram or
Oh,
whether or not
sure.
support or whatever it
I'm
is, but like
watching.
yeah, I don't like for me, it's like healing and it
Mhm.
is love. It's the most like unconditional love to like pray for people's well beings.
Yes.
And
Yes.
some of them are really good friends. Some people I
Mhm.
haven't talked to. Some people are just I just met them and like we're having conversations all the time
Yeah.
in the DMs now or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
that was like the biggest thing going back to like the initial question that you asked. What do I do, you know, when I'm not
Mm.
feeling it? It's like it really that yesterday I wasn't feeling it,
Mhm.
and by the end of the day I was really feeling it.
Mhm.
And this gentleman proposed this question and I was like, holy snap, dude. Like
Mm.
well, let's go into this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, and that's a beautiful example too, I think, of how the universe will use other people to communicate with you, right?
Mm,
Like at the end of the day, our ultimate relationship is with, at least I believe, and I feel you do too, is with source, right? With the
yes.
divine.
Yeah.
And because we can have conversation. You and I can go sit and have that conversation, and we can feel it in our lives. But there are other times where it's like, the universe will take on that human
Mm,
form in that moment because it knows it's the best way to talk to you. And I feel like
yeah.
with, this guy Zeke, he was like representing,
A hundred
communication
percent.
for you. And I love
A
that.
100%. And like I'm gonna like I got home pretty late last night, probably around like 3 a.m. and he was still up. I know he was like working on stuff and he hit me up. We like chatted before I went to bed.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna hit him back today because I want to personally remind him of that
Yeah.
mirror, you know?
Hmm.
because it was just a breakthrough moment for both of us.
Yeah. And, it gets me thinking about, and I'm sure you feel this, once you lose kind of, again, this is not to say individuals that have a 9 to 5 or have, things that are very time routine oriented is wrong or off, or you can't have a really delicious flow in your life while having,
Yeah.
the 9 to 5. But what I will say is when you do start to let go of that, when you do start to let go of home, when you start to strip down, time again, for many of us kind of understand time is just an illusion. Time is just something that was created to help us with this
Yeah.
3D reality. But once you lose time, you lose, like, what I've been really enjoying is like losing the days and losing even Monday, right? Like why does Monday always have to have a theme? Why does Tuesday always have to have a theme? Why does, today's Thursday, so what's
Yeah.
everybody saying? Oh, it's almost Friday. Like, why are we giving so
Yeah.
much power to our
Yeah.
days? And so, yes, I understand we need days to kind of help schedule things out, like you and I are talking, because of time, right?
Yeah.
But but at the same time, what I'm loving is this flow where it's like, what if I just am here? I'm living, day in and day out. Oh, a monarch just flew by my window. And just, really being in this flow even deeper. Like, I think where I'm at now in my life is stripping down even more, where I'm not relying on days. I'm not relying on time. I'm not
Wow.
relying on any of it. And I'm just like,
Oh
can
my
I
gosh, I love
just
that.
exist? Can I
I
exist? Can
love
I
that.
sleep when I need to sleep and wake up
Yeah.
when I'm supposed to wake up, and
Oh
move
my gosh.
through
I'm so
this?
happy you said that. Like I'm
Okay.
feeling
Yeah.
I'm feeling like another level of liberation right now.
Right?
Oh, it's like, whoa, like breaking through that threshold. I'm even like doing it, even, astrology is so dear to me. And I love astrology so much because it's given me so much ever since I was a little girl. Yet at the same time, it's even like, what if I were to release that framework too? And like, when I happen to look at the moon is when I happen to look at the moon, and whatever phase she's in is the phase that she's in. And not because it was calculated and I was remembering and I knew what sign it was in. Like, can I break through that mold too? And could that
Mhm.
give me something?
Wow.
That's kind of where I'm at.
I love that. Yeah. I'm really gonna tap into that, honestly.
Because like, even when you were like, okay, I got home late, I'm like, what does late mean? Why is
Yeah.
why is 3 a.m. late? Well, for someone else that could be early, right? I got home early. It's like, and again, it's all just, we could go like really nitpicky, but it's something that's on my mind lately, so that's why I just thought I would bring it up.
I love that. No, and another thing for me too, I guess, like going back to when I like called my cousin, I was like, dude, I'm
Mhm.
feeling like it's very lonely at the top right now. Like
Yeah,
the drive, my passion, my like vision for things that are happening, and like my relentlessness to quit, and ultimately like, the connection with source. I was like, damn, it's only at the top. And I'm so used to like elevating, right? Like success, or like
mm,
for me, like getting better, evolving is ascending, right?
sure.
And then yesterday, like to follow up that after that question that Zeke asked me, I was like, to be honest with you, man, like I had to take a step back today, and you asked me this, and this was really good time. And right now, I kind of put two and two together. Like growing and evolving isn't necessarily always ascending up. It's also like
Mm.
left to right and
Mhm.
horizontal.
Mhm.
And I feel like
It
that's
is.
what today is for me.
Mhm.
And like having this conversation with you right now, like I'm gaining more capacity and opening my heart and being able to see that like, we're so much more connected, and the universe is like transpiring in our favor all the time, and
Mhm.
creating this space for us to embrace this.
Mhm.
That was a big thing for me yesterday too. Like it was like, damn,
Right?
like
It's humbling.
yeah.
Because I do believe in rising up. I think we need to rise up so we can look down and witness our life, and see
Mm,
what's possible and feel elevation, and know that there's more for us. But we were put on this earth, and the main thing that we can do on this earth is walk, and walking is horizontal, like you
mm,
said. So it's like, okay, if we're going to walk, what narrative, what possibility, what vibration are we at right now to bring forth to every step on the path? What is the narrative moving forward? How do you see or feel or play with this
yeah.
current moment to then be infused in the next moment and the next. And again, it just becomes this like linear momentum or horizontal
Yeah,
momentum.
like that needed to hit how it did when it
Mm-hmm.
came through yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
this. I mean, just having this conversation
Yeah.
today, like it popped up on my calendar. I got the reminder, and I was like, "Oh yes, like dude, this week is crushing
I
it."
know, and I knew I was going to need to talk to you too because I've been, I'm in. I was telling you, I think before we hit record, I'm in St. Pete right now, and I love it here. But I've been very by myself for the last, however. I mean, again, I've been interacting with the world, but like technically alone, and I haven't really talked to anybody. And I was like, oh, I really want to talk to him. This is gonna be great,
Yes.
you know. So I'm here for it. And it, even though talking about people that had great success and were also maybe alone, I was at the Dolly Museum this morning. That's how I spent
Oh wow.
my morning. And it was,
Wow.
yeah, it's, and I'm actually wearing my like Frida caftan right now. So I'm like
Yeah.
channeling all the artists. And there was a Picasso exhibit. And I actually had no idea what Picasso looked like. I don't know, like some artists, I just feel like I dream them up in my mind, but like from a actual human perspective, like
Yeah.
clueless when you even think about them taking form. And Picasso was definitely one of those individuals. When I saw his picture, I was like, oh, like that's you. He just looked like, like a Spanish older man, kind of had a little bit of a
Yeah.
belly, like smoking,
You're
bald.
smoking a cig, right?
Yep. Yeah. He was like
Wearing black
smoking in
jeans.
every photo.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, this is you. And at the same time, like, he also was alone. Dali was alone. And they had their experiences with humans. They had their experiences with relationships and sexuality and different facets, but you could feel their loneliness. And that's not a negative. You could just feel their loneliness as part of it all.
This is bringing so much solitude and just like, yeah, it just feels really good. Thank you so much. It's like
Mm-hmm.
really hitting. Just it's hitting extra heavy, hard, and yummy today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's such a funny aspect of this life. And, I think you and I had very specific intentions when our soul was like, yeah, let's come to earth during these times. Like, let's learn, let's evolve, but let's also like spread what we already know, what we've
Yeah.
already done, what we already established we've come here with. And the more you sink into that, the more exciting it becomes. But then again, there's almost like this feeling of feeling that solitude too. So
Mm, yeah.
it's an interesting duality.
One of my friends was in town, my friend Tara, and she was sharing with me about human design a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You're familiar?
I'm familiar. I'm a manifesting generator. Do you know
Okay.
your type?
Yeah, I'm a projector.
Mm, I was going to say that.
And
I don't know a ton, but I know enough to like try to guess.
yeah,
So, okay,
well,
projector.
she was saying that like projectors are like kind of like the newest
Mm-hmm.
form of, I guess, like the
Oh,
human
beings.
design.
Uh huh.
But that was really resonating with me. One of the things she said, she was like, you know, there's necessarily not like a blueprint for us right now.
No.
It's something that you're like currently creating, and I guess like we get our energy. I guess projectors get their energy from,
Yes.
is it people around us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Um,
you do. But it has to be the right people.
yes, the
And
right
you have to
people.
use your discernment to know who
Yes,
those individuals are.
100%. And yeah, and like other things about like quote unquote work, like like for me, I mean, I'm blessed. Like nothing I do personally feels like work, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like everything I'm doing is like I'm creating, you know.
Yes. I love that.
So that was like that was a good thing, I guess, to kind of like reflect on where I'm at, like
Mm-hmm.
not having to work so many hours a day, and I'm like, okay, like I kind of got that off the checklist, but also like with the energy thing, and like I guess it's like from people around you, but also in the sense like not necessarily like standing right next to you, like people in your circle
Sure.
and who you're inspired by and the conversations you're having, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've been very, very, yeah, just discerning about that. Really, just kind of trying to match this up with what we were saying about before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're at that place in your life, the conversations are different, the people that you're seeing are different, and all of that as well is because it's, ultimately, I feel like if it's in my best interest and just healthy for me,
Mhm.
it's really benefiting those around me as well.
Oh, I really like that. That's a really good way to put it. If it's
It
healthy for
really,
you and benefiting you, then it's good for all.
it really is,
Mhm.
it's like it's having that discernment and knowing like your boundaries, like what's healthy. If I'm at my
Mhm.
best form, like naturally the way my heart is and the way I love to give is
Mhm.
like that is coming out into others.
Mm.
And it's
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
same
Mhm.
thing. It's interesting, like with the whole Sky Society project and being a vessel for that. It's really what like how it started. Like I was always very, very, especially when playing music in front of
Mhm.
people, having daily practices to keep my heart open, to feel light. Specifically, not being under the influence is really important for me. Like
Mhm.
any influences, I want to just have a clear channel, right?
Yeah, pure.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
all of that stuff, those are practices I've been having for doing this for 10 years,
Mhm.
Yeah, it's beautiful really to kind of put everything together, to put the puzzle pieces together. And
Yes. Mhm.
still, I don't the end picture is going to be, I guess, way beyond the beauty that I could possibly conceive.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. I've been seeing puzzle pieces everywhere. Like that's a new
Wow.
thing I've been getting, like these little, just scattered around wherever I go. Like I'm like, "Oh, there's another puzzle piece." There's not, and it's like, and at first I was
Wow.
just like, what is this about? Like am I puzzled about something?" Like I was kind of taking it from that angle. And
Yeah.
one day in my meditation I like asked again. I was like, "What's going on with the puzzle pieces?" And it's like let the puzzle come together. Let it form, like the big picture is continuing to form for you. So stay
Wow.
in it. Like this is our way of letting you know that like it's not that you're like puzzled, it's actually that you're
Yeah.
figuring it out. Like look at it from that perspective. And I
I
was like,
love that.
okay. Yeah.
Let's go.
But it was interesting how I had like diverted the other way at first.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I puzzled by something? And it's like what? Like is something
Yeah.
off? And it's like, no, it's the other way around. Like, you
Oh my
know.
gosh, I love that.
But as you know, with like a puzzle, like I mean, some people I guess could just sit down and do it in an instant, but it
Yeah.
takes time and it takes calculation and it takes discernment and it takes
Wow.
patience, but also interest, right? You have to be
Yeah.
inspired to keep going. Um,
That's so true.
so
It's all
there's,
of those
yeah,
things.
yeah,
I
there's a
love
lot
it.
of different aspects to it. That's my little puzzle
Thank
situation.
you.
Of course, of course. I'm
This is the
curious.
puzzle segment.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
I've been using the word segment so much, like doing all these interviews. Like
I
it
like
literally
that
is
word.
one of my favorite words. I feel like I'm like Barbara Walters or something. Like I don't know, like in this segment, like
In this segment, we talk to Juany about the puzzle theory. So moving on to our next segment, I am actually curious. You've been in this practice for like a decade now. I'm like curious your
yes,
life like who were you, you
yes.
know, prior to
So
this?
yeah, I guess let's I guess a good place to start is like maybe college.
Okay. I thought you were going to be
Um,
like, I came out of my mother's womb and
no, it was like so I've been like writing poetry for a long time, like
Mhm.
even in like elementary school and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Throughout high school, I was writing poetry, writing rhymes, like making beats, doing all these
Mhm.
things. I learned how to like DJ and beat match at like the age of 12
Nice.
from my pops. So like it was always around music. I was always dancing. My family is Latino
Mhm.
and Italian, so heavy influence just in and grew up in New York, so heavy
Oh,
influence in music, right? All types of
yes.
music.
Celebration. Yes.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
always, always. And yeah, I went to I played soccer throughout high school. Got like a scholarship to go to this private school outside of Pittsburgh. It's called Geneva College, and it was a Christian college. And I'd like actually studied the Bible through
Mhm.
from like the age of 14 to 18,
Okay.
and it was by choice. I just felt like
Sure.
this connection to source, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then started experimenting with psychedelics like senior year, and
Mm-hmm.
then had the whole thing like, oh, like it's
Whoa.
not one God, it's like
Mm.
all of them. Like,
Mhm.
like
Mhm. Right. It's a whole smorgasbord.
it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a whole team,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
everyone's
Yeah.
here, like
Yeah.
the angels and the spirits and the
Right.
ancestors and the deities, like they're
Yes.
all really working together for
Yes.
all of us, and like we're not, no one's competing, like
No. Mm-mm.
this is all a team thing, like we're like
Mm-hmm.
one tribe. So going to like like a Christian school, and
Sure.
because I already like committed, but
Yeah.
had like all this growth in my senior year. I did like a semester up there, played college soccer. I hated it. I
Mm.
was like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm not trying to be on the Olympic team. Like, I'm
Sure.
not going to go to the MLS. Like,
Right.
like
Right.
there's
Right.
so many other things I could be doing.
Good on you.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I like also during that time, one of a big inspiration of mine is Bob Marley. He's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite singer songwriters, and I had like watched every single interview across the internet I could possibly have seen,
Mm-hmm.
like on this being, this light being, and left. It was really impactful for me. Left school early, came back to Lancaster for a little bit, then ended up moving to Philly. Was in Philly for about like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
just like making my name, making connections, getting into the music scene. And then after, actually, I had my daughter at the age of, I was 23.
Oh, wow.
So I was super young.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Father had, having a child, and she's like very, like a miracle baby. Like, yeah,
Oh.
we didn't really even know like that my partner at the time was
Uh-huh.
pregnant, and she was like already on the way, so it was like clear decision
Wow.
that we were
Yes.
gonna like bring life into this world, and
Mm-hmm.
just like so magical and
Wow.
divine, and it's really who she is, and like
Mm-hmm.
it was honestly like one of the, yeah, really the best thing that like happened for me.
I can imagine.
um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say specifically too in this new paradigm shift where the patriarchy is like crumbling and the divine feminine is rising, and it's
Yeah.
really asking the masculine to take new form and understand our place and being supported for that. And here I am raising this, queen, goddess queen,
Mm.
baby angel child.
Yes.
Um, and just like everything, my connection to like my mother and my grandmother
Right?
and the
Mm-hmm.
whole feminine and earth
Mm-hmm.
and mother, the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate mother, right?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so like I was saying, like having those practices from going into my profession as being an artist and being very conscious of that, and like really ultimately like wanting to leave a strong legacy for my child and
Mm-hmm.
her friends and generations to come.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's another part where I really realized like I didn't have a mentor to tell me that.
Right.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't like that's when you go look at Instagram or social media or whatever,
Right.
like the biggest artists aren't talking about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not
So
going to
like
find that.
no, I didn't
Mm.
get like this didn't come from
It
someone.
didn't come from a
Like
meme. Yeah, there wasn't like this
yeah,
meme you saw that was like, "Oh, this is it."
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it
It's
was
very much.
experiential.
Oh yeah, 100%. And being in the music industry, I can tell you much is very much so opposite of that. It is really
Mm.
complete opposite of that.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, if I
Yeah.
can just be real. But also the music industry is a failing system as well.
Yeah. I
So
can say, well, same with Hollywood too right now.
yeah, 100%. Oh, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of them.
I was, I mean, before, like, I don't really want to totally get into like what happened at the Oscars last week, but it was so interesting. When I was watching it, I was just like, this feels so sad to me. It feels like it's dying and it
Yeah,
doesn't know where to go.
yeah,
So that's interesting you're seeing that in the music industry. Because
yeah,
I used to be a big like Hollywood like I loved celebrity culture. I loved the movies. I would go visit Hollywood and I was just so infatuated and in love, especially with like old world Hollywood. It was
yeah.
so magical to me. And so as to see kind of where it is now, it feels broken and sad. But that's anything that
That's
needs to be reborn eventually, right?
really, that's what it is. And one of my things like that I learned over time and that I've always like really said to myself is like, and I kind of shared with you, like I've always had a love for music.
Mm.
It was always shared and displayed as something that brought people together. And my family's Latino, so like barbecues, everything like that. It's not just like people of Latino descent there. You know, our
Mm-hmm.
family is very much so extended from people of different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And that's family. That's just like family to
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I always told myself, like, you know, music is my profession, it's my career, but I never want this to become something that I end up being jaded by.
Yeah.
And I really see that now as I take steps and this path that I'm on, and aligning with mentors and the right people, why I'm specifically taking this path to
Mm-hmm.
see all the things. I feel like the first 10 years was seeing everything that is not meant for me and
Mm.
being tested by those things and being like,
Yes.
nah, that doesn't align. Nah,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't align. And
Mm-hmm.
basically showing myself that, hey, like, dude, that's a big thing for me too. Now is like, I'm no longer saying like, I want to make it. Like, I've really already have made it,
Absolutely. You
and
have.
I'm making it in a different way, which is
Mm-hmm.
super important. And like, you know, I'm saying that to encourage, you know, anyone who's listening. I think that's a big thing for us to realize is like, if we continue to distance ourselves from this idea of making it, it becomes this ever like never ending chase
Mm-hmm. And the
where
chase, yeah, keep going.
no, whereas like, you know, you kind of have to strip it back and just have confidence in yourself and be like, no, I've made it and this is the way that I'm making it. And I'm going to continue to create that lifestyle for myself and for others by just being my authentic self and
Mm-hmm.
really being intentional and having strong discernment.
Yeah, and that's the plot twist, if you will, because I think the chase can be a really beautiful distraction because it can make you feel like I am on the right path and I am doing the right thing and I am going after my dreams. However, there comes a point where you realize, like, and I think that happened to me a lot in the beginning of my journey. I realized, like, oh, I'm chasing again. I'm just chasing. I'm not doing. I'm
Mm,
just running around. I'm just getting exhausted. I'm just kind of going after all these, not false leads, but kind of. I definitely see where I exchanged my energy or invested my energy or my gifts in experiences and places and people that weren't best aligned, but I thought it was part of getting to the outcome I wanted.
mm,
And so it does take a lot of confidence, to your point, and a lot of trust. And once again, faith to reel it back and say, I'm not chasing, I am. And
yeah,
in that I amness, in the being of one's gifts, then they have a chance to be opened and
yeah,
best utilized and actualized.
yes.
But it's tricky
That's
to
what
get
it
there.
is. That's what it is.
Hmm.
Like, whew.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
it's,
love how you said that though. Like the chase can be like such a distraction
hmm
to make you think that that's what it's
hmm
supposed to feel like
hmm
and be like.
hmm exactly.
And like, you know, you might get glimpses of it. Like
Sure.
you might hop on the chase train for fucking 30 minutes.
hmm hmm
But like, fam, hop off.
Right,
Like,
right. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is not going in the right direction. Wrong
yeah,
train.
yeah.
Wrong
You
train.
know, maybe
Yeah.
you got to one stop and you realize like, okay, now I need to like get off this stop and I need to get back
Yeah.
on the other train.
Yeah, it's true. And trusting that intuition, right? That's a big piece of
Yeah.
it too. It's like, and especially in the beginning when you're still, we all have intuition, but it takes time to really become intimate with it and
Mm,
really trust it. Like an example was yesterday. So my dog is with me in St. Pete, and we're in this like really cute neighborhood, and she loves walking. So I've been, taking her on these like long walks. And we were walking. We turned this block, and I saw this dog like just chilling on the sidewalk, and I was like, I'm like, I don't know. Do we walk by this dog that's like not on a leash? That might not be a good
yeah,
idea. But I kept hearing like, this dog is friendly. This dog is friendly. You can walk. But then there was another part that was like, cross the street, cross the street. Yes, that dog's friendly, but cross the street. And I was like, whatever. I don't feel like crossing the street. This dog is friendly. So we start to
yeah,
walk, and we're walking towards the dog, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, another dog jumps out and like from another yard and lunges at us, like tries to attack my dog. We get out of the way, and that was like a clear situation where it was like, Danielle, you didn't listen. You were looking at factors that you believe to be true and good, and you weren't listening to the deeper tone here, which was, yes, everything looks good on the surface, but we're still telling you to walk away. And I think that's a good mirror for our lives. Sometimes our lives can look so good on the surface, but there's still a part of us that needs to walk away and we don't know why. And it's like, can you trust that? Or are you going to not trust that and then let, the dog or the thing kind of quote unquote come out of nowhere and startle you?
Wow.
It was
Sheesh.
like a moment where I was like, whoa, redirect.
Yeah.
Remember, like, I don't always know I don't know what's best. And I have to remind myself of that. Even as you become more committed to your relationship with this life and the divine and being a vessel for it, that still doesn't mean that you know best. If anything, it means that you know nothing. So can
Yeah.
you play with that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what are some practices that you do to assess that situation?
Hmm. As far as,
As far as like, okay, so like, for example, like you were hearing two different things,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
So are there situations in your life where like, I mean, that's probably have happened before too, but can you think of like just something that you personally like to do that allows you that space and time to like maybe not have to make the redirect, but go in the right direction?
Yes. I think what it comes down to, I usually find when I'm getting too caught up in the world or other people or in my own story, that's when I seem to follow the path that quote unquote seems like it's fine, but it's not.
Mm,
And so
wow.
for me, it's really important that I keep coming back to myself. And I notice when I don't get caught up in what's going on, what other people are doing, other people's drama or whatnot, because it clouds my judgment. And I do think I'm intuitive enough to be able to communicate and use discernment and navigate my path accordingly. But when I let other people in, it's like interference. And I can hear things that are true, but I can't hear the ultimate truth. And so it's really important that every day I make space for myself where no one can get in, no one can be
Mm,
involved, no one has any room inside of me, if that makes sense. And the more that I do that, the more then it lets me be with myself, be with the different aspects of me and like listen to whatever it is that source wants to communicate with me. And I find that when I do that, those days are a lot more seamless.
mm, thank you. I love that.
Yeah. So, but it's at the same time, and as much as we've been talking about kind of like, making space for ourselves and deepening our own relationship and solitude, there is need for relationship and there is need for partnership and people in our lives. I believe that because I do find that if I isolate myself too much, I forget the beauty and the bliss that can come from union, right? That can come
For sure.
from the love that you get from another human. And
For sure.
so, but that's where it's tricky. And like for me, I'm in a space where I am craving that partnership, and it's like, okay, how do I navigate this without losing myself and also benefiting from it, but not from a space that's like, cool, let's have this union so I can get some good stuff off of it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what does this union mean to me? Why
Yeah.
is it important? Why am I willing to even give up part of, not give up because that's not the right word, but shift part of my energy so that I'm welcoming this in? And that's been interesting for me at this time in my life because it is something that I feel very called. And I think the reason why I even feel called is because the universe is literally like dropping it to me. It's like, here you go. We want you to have this. And I'm like, do
Yeah.
you? Do I? Like, what is this? Like, what does this look like? And so it's been interesting to navigate.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been like, I guess for something that I've been using or that's like came to the surface for me recently, like there's been a couple different creative endeavors that have been like set on the plate for me
Hmm.
just literally over the past like month or so since I've been back on the East Coast. Different, and they're creative endeavors, but they're also business endeavors.
Okay.
Um, and they're connected to like forms of creation and different outlets that I'm passionate about, right? But it's making long-term decisions, it's like partnerships and building things. And I, was in Philly yesterday touring this new venue space. Potentially it's like they've got like a high-end like loft space at the top of it, so we want to like turn it into an
Ooh.
Airbnb, and like, just kind of
Mhm.
asking my guidance as far as like different things, the business model, and just different things like that. But like
Mhm.
lots of conversations pertaining to that. And it's with a friend of mine, and last night, it was before I headed out of Philly. We just like were talking outside on the street, and I was like, I think we're definitely aligned in so many ways, and are coming from the right place, the heart center. But I think it'd be good for us, like in any situation too. I'm noticing it's like, if you can let go of this, you have no problem letting go of it and saying like, hey, like if I let go of this, something's going to open up and it's going to be
Mm.
the next best thing. But if I
Mhm.
really feel called to do this, that it's going to be the best thing as well. And that's like something I've like been having to look at these projects, or just daily things, right? It's
Sure.
like, if I can let go of the attachment to this
Yeah.
and just trust that
Mm.
either way it's gonna work out, it allows me to make the decision in a more clearer space.
Yes. I'm with you on that. And that's kind of been my thing coming up. It's like, okay, moving into partnership, doing it without attachment, and also doing it not in a space where then I'm creating avoidance, right? Because
Mm,
being not attached doesn't mean avoiding. It's
yeah,
like you're
yeah,
able to fully be in and hold space while not being attached, which sounds
mhm.
weird. However, right? Like it does. Like, oh, so you're holding space for it and you're all in, yet you're not attached. And it's like,
Yeah,
huh? But and that takes time. And
yeah,
I'm actually even curious, like how you work with that energy.
yeah.
But
It's like true alchemy, right?
yeah, that's a good word to use for it. It is because
Yeah.
there is a space for all of it. There is a space to want it, to desire it, to feel aligned, and yet there's also a space to be so not attached.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it just comes with experience. Like that's like,
Mhm.
the fine tuning of the intuition that we are talking about.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
it is a daily practice for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It's funny because we said that multiple times, but it's like really what it is. Like,
It is, and I'm learning that more and more. And again, I think why I was even sharing before about kind of like losing track of the days or losing the sense of time actually helps me, and it makes it more just like, okay, I'm waking up today, and while yes, I know what's on my plate as far as my daily practice goes, and what I'm continuing to build, yet it doesn't feel like as much pressure when I let it be more of a
mm,
flow.
yeah. Yeah, and it is really like even beyond daily practice, like moment by moment
It
practice, right?
it is, and it's wild that, like, the more experienced you become, the more you realize you've gotta play it moment by moment, and that's it,
Yeah.
and it's like, you can want things, but it's that understanding of, like, I don't need it. Again, that's also a practice, being in a
Mm,
space of, I desire this, I want this feels good, this feels like it's the right opportunity, the right venture, all of it. It could be so great, and you can go into the fantasy, and you can imagine, you could see it happening and actualizing, and it might, but at the end of the day, you also have to be in that space of
yes.
knowing at the same time, I don't need this, and that's
Yes.
like the surrender right there.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the word. That's the word.
That's it. That's what we've been dancing around.
Yeah.
Right? The art of
That's the whole book.
surrender, of being like,
Yeah.
I know I want this and I know nothing at the same time. So you know what? Guess who knows me better than me? Source, my angels, my guide, the higher counsel, whatever it is that you believe understands your life and this soul journey. It's like up to all of that. And it's up to, yeah, it's up to all of that. And so it's like, okay, from that space, can you be willing to say, I want everything, and at the same time, I'm okay with nothing?
Yeah. I actually have a really good quote that popped up recently about surrender.
Look around. I think the interesting about surrender, I think people confuse it with survival. They're like, if I surrender, I won't survive. And it's like, no, no, no. They're not
Oh
the
yeah,
same.
that's drastic, fam.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean, again, in our 3D rule book,
I know.
you have to survive.
I know.
So if you surrender, that's counter.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here's the quote. It says, surrender is not about quitting. It's about giving up the need for egoic control and aligning your intentions with higher wisdom. This is the difference between force and flow. While in flow, things happen without effort. Synchronicities emerge. Your only job is to find flow, to find a guidance system beyond the desire of your conscious mind. Surrender is the portal.
Hmm. I love surrender as a portal.
Yeah, I'm gonna DM it to you.
Okay. And that kind of, even to like go full circle, it like brings us right back to where we started. You know, you're like, I'm stepping into faith over fear.
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
You know, I'm stepping into flow over force.
Yes, that's really what it. Oh man, thank you for just like looking at it from that perspective. And yeah, it's fun. I'm telling you, I've been
Mm-hmm.
having
Mm-hmm.
so much fun and like
Mm-hmm.
just feeling like I said, like highly favored, blessed, super supportive. It's allowed me to like give even more and be
Mm-hmm.
the best version of myself. Something I'm being very intentional about is like any moment I have a chance to like crack a joke is like I'm cracking jokes. Like I want
Yes.
people to laugh as much as
Mm-hmm.
possible. Like I want to laugh as much as possible. Also, I'm like really trying to learn from joy and experience rather like over suffering,
Yeah.
And I like really have to like keep on telling myself that too. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, that was like my 20s and I just turned 32, so like now getting into this phase of my life, it's like, hey, like I am really trying to learn by having fun
Yes.
and amazing experiences,
Mm-hmm.
because I did a lot of the suffering.
Yeah. And there's a time and a place
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. I mean, it's not unavoidable.
yeah.
However, it can be way better and way you're going to deal with it much less. It's going to be a smaller play in your life if you put the
Mm,
spotlight on joy. And happiness is something that I've been really focusing on a lot myself and giving myself that chance to be happy just because I'm happy because I have this glass of water. I'm happy
yes.
because I'm walking and there's this really beautiful tree right next to me. I'm happy because I have the gift that, I'm just experiencing life in this way in this moment.
Mm,
That's where I'm at, which is, if you had told me 15 years ago that that's how I'd be talking about my life, I feel like I'd be laughing, I guess, if you will. That like not that I ever judged anyone that was like, because I think I was always intrigued by the spiritual world. I grew up Catholic, and
yeah.
I would always kind of like hide out and go try to find like more things about spirituality, and like I loved like the New Age section of bookstores and whatnot. So I do think if I like pulled the lens back and talked to me 15 years ago, I think I'd be like kind of excited, but also kind of nervous if I heard myself now.
Well, you made it. I mean, we definitely made it.
As of you, you're here.
Yeah, we made
We made
it.
it. We've arrived. And we had a fabulous conversation.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Like, let's do this again.
Uh,
This is fun.
yeah. No, I'm here for it. No, I love everything you're doing. And I feel like there's a time and a place where more synergy will erupt with it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we'll keep connecting.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've been traveling a lot, so I know, you're actively traveling too. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe we're gonna randomly sync up in like one of these cities.
Maybe there's something there. I've felt it kind of for a while, but it's just like, let it just keep being whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it will land when it's supposed to. But this is a good next step.
Thanks so
Of
much.
course. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
And
And
we'll put, in the notes all the things for people. But real quick, how can someone find you fast?
just at Sky Society, I guess Instagram, but
Yeah.
I don't know. If you search it, I think it comes up on the top on like the
Cool.
Google feed.
Yeah.
I like to believe my SEO is good.
Yes. We'll trust that it is. And my feeling is like, when people like are on, like they're like, here's all my stuff, and they like spew. I'm like, if someone wants to find you, they'll find you.
Yeah,
Like
I,
that's what.
I
Yeah. I'm like, just
I
give me a
usually
lead.
tend for sure. I usually tend to go to Instagram. It's
Mhm.
the easiest, and I have like my website connected to
Yeah.
it, and I know it usually pops up
Hmm.
at the top when you just search it.
Yeah.
Most people are like on Instagram.
Totally. That's usually what I do too. Same, but like same thing. I'm like, just Google my name and see what happens. Have fun. Go at it. Google a roulette with my name. See where it takes you.
Such a boss move.
Yeah, triple Leo. That's how I do.
Yes.
I'm like, go for it. See what happens. I'm not scared. I'm not afraid you won't find me. So good stuff.
So let's chat soon.
Yes. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And I know
I appreciate
everyone
you.
listening.
Thank you so much for hosting, and everyone listening out there. I hope you have an amazing day or evening and week or weekend. And sending everyone so much love. Sending you love as well, Danielle.
Thank you.